Hi everyone, welcome back to Life with RA Plus. Last week we talked about my holistic approach, and in today's video I'll be talking about new medications and new doctors. So just a little recap, I last left off on taking Humira once a week instead of once every 2 weeks. So I was definitely taking it more than I should have. When I went back to my doctor and we realized that the Humira wasn't working as well for me, he told me about Rituxan. And Rituxan was going to be an IV medication, and the first session would be 2 to 3 hours, and the second session, which would be two days later, would be a 30-minute session. So I said, okay, let's try that. So when I first tried it, I would go in the early mornings because the lady that administered the drug was only there in the early mornings. And she had multiple patients that were taking that medication and another medication. So she was there administering and checking up on all of us. And you can't have anybody go with you. The reason is because they didn't want other people who were not sick to be around the medication. I was told that it was also a medication that was given to cancer patients. So I'm not comparing my illness to people with cancer, but I got a little glimpse as to what it's like to have to sit there and have this drug pumped in you. And it was tough because you're so drained. You don't think you're going to be drained. You're just sitting, you think I'm just going to be sitting there, having this medication, but it does drain you. And you try not to think about your illness. So you try to distract your mind with so many other things, but it's always there in the back of your mind, you worrying about your illness. So my hat's definitely off to people with cancer and who are receiving chemotherapy because it's tough and it's draining. And, thank God I didn't get any side effects from that. But, there's a lot of people that do. And, I send my love to you all and I hope you all feel better and to don't ever give up. Please don't ever give up. So when I tried that, it didn't really I didn't really see a difference. I tried it for 3 months because this medication was going to be given only once a month. I tried it for 3 months and I didn't really see a difference. So he told me about Orencia, which was another intravenous medication. And this one was also once a month, but I only had to sit there for an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I said, okay, let's try it. I think now they offer a self-injection with Orencia, which is pretty cool, and I think I want to try that because I'm currently on Enbrel. When I tried the Orencia, I did notice a difference. The only thing was that my right hip was starting to become this agonizing pain. So I felt like the Orencia worked for the rest of my RA throughout my body except my hip. And I don't know if it was because my hip was already so damaged that it didn't really work for it, but I just had so much pain in my right hip. Before I tried Orencia, my mom was diagnosed with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. And I don't wish this illness on anybody. But it was nice having my mom by my side because she understood what I was going through and it was just nice to know that I wasn't alone. And I had never met anybody else with rheumatoid arthritis. I met a couple people there while being administered the drug, but I didn't know them personally. So when my mom was diagnosed, we kind of related to each other with that. And my mom has always been my best friend. And, to see her go through that was definitely tough because it was tough for me. And I knew what she was going to go through and to see what she would be struggling with up ahead. So when my mom was diagnosed, she didn't want to do any self-injections. I think she tried it and my mom was my mom was a little dramatic. So when she tried it, she said that SOB hurt. And she didn't want to do it anymore. She didn't want to do it at all, really, because she only had the one. So she tried the Orencia with me. And so I was glad that I was able to have my mom with me. because like I said, I couldn't have anybody else go in with me because they didn't want anybody to breathe in the medication. So I was lucky to have my mom there with me. I didn't want her to be there with me, but I did want her to be there with me, if you know what I mean. I didn't want her there receiving this medication, but I wanted her there with me because, she's always been my rock and she's the strongest person I know. So it was definitely tough for me to see her struggle with this disease as well. So when we did the Orencia, I did notice a difference a lot more than I did the Rituxan. I did the Orencia for about 4 months, and I did notice a big difference. But like I said, my hip was just in this terrible pain. So one night, or I think it was like early morning, like on a Saturday or a Sunday, my my hip was just throbbing. Like this pain was so unbearable. I couldn't move it. I didn't even want to touch it. I didn't want nobody to touch my whole leg in general because that pain just ran throughout my whole leg. So my younger sister had to pick me up, carry me down the stairs, put me in the car, and we went to the emergency room. So the emergency room doctor, he gave me a cortisone shot and he gave me a painkiller. Now the painkillers, I'm not big on painkillers. I don't like the way they make me feel. I feel like I'm not in control of myself or I'm loopy and I don't like that feeling. So when they did give me the painkiller, I only asked for half of whatever they were giving me because I didn't like to feel like that. It was just enough to not feel the pain. They do that for me and they tell me, there's nothing else we can do. You need to go back to your doctor and get referred to an orthopedic. Go back to my doctor and he tells me, yes, you need to see an orthopedic. He refers me to an orthopedic. But the orthopedic was so far booked that there was no way for me to see an orthopedic anytime soon. So I had to deal with this pain. Because at the time I was on my mom's insurance, I had became of age and I was no longer on my mom's insurance. I said, okay, well, I need to go back to work because I need insurance. So my doctor tells me to file for Social Security and I can be helped then because at this point my disability had run out. So he tells me to file for Social Security. And so I go and file for Social Security, but then I say, okay, in the meantime, I'm going to go to work because I need insurance. I need some type of insurance. So I go back to work and I don't go back to a law firm, but I go back to a process server firm. I have contracts with different attorneys, and if they need anything filed at the courts, we print it out and we send the runners to go and file it at the court. I mean, I didn't go personally, but I was there making the appointments and setting the schedules. So that's what I did. So I was luckily it was still an office job for me. As I filed for Social Security, I also get an attorney. So while I'm waiting for my case, I start this job and of course I disclose to them I have rheumatoid arthritis. So there's some days that I might have to take off because I have a doctor's appointment or I might be late because I have a doctor's appointment. So whatever the case may be, I might be late, I might not be here, you know, I might not be able to do this, I might not be able to do that. But they're completely understanding and they said, okay, it's fine. And I was there for almost 3 months. And I was so excited because I believe it was like you had to be there for 6 months and then you get insurance. So I'm all excited because, I'm halfway there and I'm about to get in my insurance. And then the attorney calls me and she tells me, if you want Social Security, you cannot work at all. If they see that you're working at a place for more than 3 months, they will throw out your case and you will not receive Social Security because you're showing that you can work. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, do I need to take care of my health or do I need to work while I'm struggling with my health so I can get help for my health? It was just like this big debacle of what should I do? Should I keep working? Should I not work and focus on me? Or should I work so I can focus on me so I can have the insurance? So after talking to my mom and talking to everybody else, my doctor, other family members, of course, they say, put your health first. That's always the key. Put your health first. There will always be a job for you, there will always be work. Just put yourself first and take care of yourself. So I told my work that I had to stop working because I'm applying for so I don't even think I disclosed that to them actually. I think I just told them, I need to stop working, I need to focus on my health. And they said, okay, if you want a job, we have a job for you. So I'm glad I was a hard worker even though I had this disability, because they were still offering me my position at work. You know, when you're ready, come back. We'll have a job for you. So I'm glad I proved myself to them that, this isn't going to stop me. I'm still going to continue to work hard and put in work. So as I'm waiting for the Social Security to go through, I don't have insurance, so I haven't been able to see my doctor, and my hip is just in pain. I mean, it became a point where it wasn't in pain like if I was sitting there or laying there. It's more if I was walking or just doing things around the house. Like when I had to stand on it is when it became painful. So because I had this pain in my hip, my legs started to turn outwards. So it's like I had one leg straight and this leg was out like this. I couldn't close my legs, I couldn't spread my legs, I couldn't cross my legs, I couldn't really do anything. So at this point, I'm waddling anywhere I go. Instead of walking regular, I was starting to swing my leg out because I couldn't even bend my leg to walk regular. And I was like that for about 2 years because that's how long I was waiting for my Social Security case to go through. And in that meantime, my mom is moving, I'm moving, my younger sister's moving, because at that time I was living with my mom still. And, my boyfriend told me, come live with me, I'll take care of you. So after I came to live with my boyfriend, my mother-in-law told me, I mean, we're not married, but I still call her my mother-in-law. And she told me, well, why don't you get Medi-Cal? And it never even dawned on me, or like, I never had that thought to get Medi-Cal. So she took me because it was hard for me to drive even. And she took me to get Medi-Cal. So as soon as I got it, I told them everything that was going on with me. I hadn't seen a doctor in so long. I have rheumatoid arthritis and I really need to be seen. So they processed it as an emergency and they told me to go see a doctor right away. So when I went to go see this new doctor, it was in a county hospital. So they told me to get blood work and they did an x-ray. So when they saw me, they saw that my inflammation markers were extremely high, and when they saw my x-ray, they were so shocked that I was still able to move my leg. They were shocked that I was still able to move because my hip bones were rubbing up against each other, that there was no cartilage, no nothing in between them. It was just bone on bone. And I told them, I said, there's no stopping. I have to keep going. If I just sit and dwell, which I have done before, I'm going to be completely honest. There were a couple times where I just sat there and cried, or I laid in bed and I cried and I thought, why me? Why do I have to be going through this? I see other people moving so carefree, taking advantage of their knees and their ankles and their hips, being able to squat down and pick things up. And I think to myself, like, why can't I do that stuff? Then I also think, like, doesn't it hurt them? Like, doesn't it hurt to do that? But of course not, because, they're not dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with. And I've dwelled on that before. Like, why me? Why do I have to be going through this? And if I did sit there and dwell on it, all I did was cry. And there was no point of me crying. I just had to keep going. I had to keep pushing myself and I had to get stuff done. I mean, I wasn't working at the time, but I have to get stuff done around the house. There's no stopping. I can't pity myself just because of this. And I don't want any of you guys to pity yourself because of what you're going through. I'm sure you're all strong and I'm sure you're all pushing for the best that you can be. And I just want to remind you all to never ever give up. I know there's times where you feel like you want to, but you can't. Whether you have family, whether it's just for yourself, keep pushing just for you. Just keep going. Don't stop. And that's what I told them. So they were surprised to hear my positive outlook on having rheumatoid arthritis. So after I saw the doctor, he started me back on my medications. He told me to try Enbrel this time. Well, they give you 4 syringes for the month. So I started on Enbrel. It's kind of like Humira, and I had told them, well, I was trying Humira years ago and it stopped working for me. So he told me, because you haven't been on any medication, it might work for you again, as if it's the first time starting it. So I tried Enbrel. Enbrel is once a week for a month. So we got back on Enbrel, we got back on methotrexate, we got back on the naproxen, we got on sulfasalazine. So we're back to square one. with my medications, the same thing that I was taking in the beginning of my diagnosis. And they told me, you need to see an orthopedic, and they referred me to an orthopedic. And in my next video, I'll be discussing that. And I'll also be discussing surgeries. So if you'd like to stay tuned, hit that notification button, like and subscribe to this video, and I'll see you then.